Hello. So, this is a video I've meant to make for a while. Um, this is the month of my anniversary as a content creator. Um, my first video on YouTube went up 4 years ago. At around the same time, I started streaming on Twitch. So, it's my anniversary for both platforms. But I wanted to do something a little bit different this year. I want to tell a story. I want you to see behind the screen without actually showing you what's behind the screen. I know that may sound weird. I don't usually give too many glimpses behind the scene. Or much of anything at all in that regards. And there's sort of a reason why. It's not what you may assume, but who knows? Who knows how you'll take it? So, usually if I'm gonna show off stuff, it's on, like, Discord. I've actually shown a picture of, like, my hands on Discord. Which is about as much as I've ever shown anywhere. So, you get real fingies if you go on my Discord, and you can find it these days. There's, however, a very long story about why, and that's why we're here. So, I decided that for this anniversary, I'd tell you this story. Some people I know are probably not going to like the fact that I'm telling this story. The ones that I know outside of being a Vtuber. They would rather I not say anything about this, generally. But I feel this is a story I have to tell. It's also going to be important if I can actually get everything together for the next episode of Virtual Talk that I'm trying for. Getting guests is hard. It has taken me like 3 months now to get guests for this, and I have had like no luck. Well, I maybe have luck. Maybe. We'll see how it goes. So anyways, that's the setup here. So, I'm gonna tell you the story of me. And not just the me that you see on screen all the time, but the person behind the screen. So, I grew up through the 80s and 90s. As a little kid, I did not understand, like, the concept of gender. To me, kids were just kids. I knew kids went into, like, two groups. One group were called boys, and one group were called girls. And they were expected to behave slightly differently. But none of that made sense to me. I didn't understand that there were physical differences that people used to figure out those boxes. To me, people were just thrown in one box or the other, and it didn't make any sense to me. That continued until puberty. And then I realized that regardless of what other people thought, I had definitely been put in the wrong box. However, it was the 90s at that point, the early 90s, to make things even worse. It's a little hard to describe. I mean, this is a personal story. And I don't think I've ever actually said all of this out loud. I've typed it a few times. But that's a little bit different. So, growing up, I was stuck in the boy box. My parents, everyone around me, assumed I was a boy. But when puberty started, the other boys definitely told me that I wasn't like them. Back then, that meant that they thought I was gay. Which is funny, because I have zero interest in guys. Well, not zero, but not that sort of interest, let's put it that way. So yeah, sorry. I'm trying not to cry. It's a little bit emotional for me. However, the reason they thought that was that I was showing very few, like, what they would consider to be male traits. I had, like, no interest in sports, really. I didn't like the way boys talked about and treated girls. I found it actually offensive. It's hard to put a lot of it into words, especially since, in a lot of cases, I couldn't tell the difference. To me, I was just me, but they definitely did not like me. So, I tried, well, I'd always preferred having girls as friends, but unfortunately, girls didn't really want to be friends with me either. So, I was sort of on my own. Socially, I ended up in what I could probably best describe as the nonconformers group, which was mostly guys, actually. But those people weren't really friends. I certainly never felt that those people, like, had my back. In fact, some bad things definitely happened. I was, let's be honest, I wasn't just bullied. I was tortured in high school, in middle school for that matter. Physically, emotionally. None of those people really, like, that, for lack of a better term, where my friend group actually did anything about that. I mean, they wouldn't even talk to me about, the things I went through. So, um, it was a it was a very lonely place that I was in. Uh, it was also, like I said already, the 90s. I had never heard of a trans person. Uh, I wasn't even aware of the concept. For me, I wanted to be in the girl box, but I had no no framework, no words to even describe that. Um, a lot of trans people talk about, being able to like wear clothes of the opposite gender. And I think it's a little bit easier for trans men than trans women in that case. Because t-shirts and jeans is pretty standard across genders these days. But I definitely did not have access to women's clothes. Or girls' clothes, depending on what you want to call them. Yeah. Things like makeup, definitely outside the realm of what I had access to. I reached out once to my parents about some of how I felt. And the only thing I could really get across to them is that I was depressed, and I was always depressed. But they told me basically that I just had to deal with it. That's life. Get used to it. I don't know if it was specifically then or if it had happened before, but that was definitely around the time that my subconscious started repressing a lot of my memories. And ironically, once I got to college and I took psychology classes, I wondered how it would feel to have repressed memories. When I definitely had repressed memories. And I can tell you now, you don't know. There's no science. Our minds are very good at that sort of thing. And you might have some clues that something is there that you just don't have access to. But making sense of that, maybe if you had like a psychologist or someone like that to talk to, you could work out that you had repressed memories. But I certainly couldn't tell. But I needed to repress my memories because sorry. Some things are awfully hard to say. It doesn't help that YouTube definitely is not going to like me talking about this part. But things had gotten so bad that I made a list of ways to unalive myself. But those were not. Usually when we talk about doing that, it's about the context that these are cries for help. But for me, I had internalized a sense of hopelessness. Sorry. I know you can't see it, but I'm trying to keep myself together, and it's a bit hard. But it was an attempt to get help. I was living every day in pain. And I just wanted it to end. Sorry. Somehow, though, I got to graduating high school. That took some effort, definitely. I wanted to get away from where I grew up because I didn't have any good associations here. So I wanted to get far enough away that I could just try, like, fitting in. I'm not sure a better way to describe it, but yeah, I just wanted to fit in somewhere. And I felt if I got farther away, I'd have a better opportunity. So, I went at least a couple of states. Well, I'll just say I went some distance away. Let's put it that way. And for the first time there, I actually had some friends who were women that treated me like one of them. I mean, I definitely wasn't yet aware. In fact, repressing my memories meant I literally couldn't know. But the internet also suddenly became a thing. And while I found myself uncomfortable in like male spaces online, I know this might sound strange to some people. I found comfortable lesbian spaces online. If I wasn't repressing my memories, that should have told me something, but I was. And because of that, when you can't make the association consciously between things, you just don't realize things. We'll get into that a little bit more later. I know. But I was the how did they term it? I forget how they term it now, but uh, they considered me one of the girls, basically. And it was the first time I'd ever felt accepted, ever. Sadly, though, I was still dealing with chronic depression. Uh, that was sort of the penance I had for repressing my memories. Uh, because I was repressing them, even though they made me depressed, I couldn't fix what made me depressed because that was repressed. I literally didn't have access to dealing with it in any sort of positive way. So, I ended up failing college the first time. Uh, it was a very dark place that I was in when that happened because I couldn't manage to like reach out to any of the friends I'd made. I was being forced to go back home where I didn't feel like I could be me like I had been. Not that I was ever really me, but I was more me, I guess is the way to put that. So, while waiting for my parents to come and pack up everything and go back home, it was the middle of winter, and it was very cold outside, definitely below freezing. So, because I was in a very dark place at the time, I decided to turn off the heat in the house, open all the windows, and go to sleep. I was hoping I actually wouldn't wake up the next morning, but I did. That was actually the morning that my parents showed up to get my stuff and take me back home. So, I had a lot of thoughts going on at the time. Things would go on though. Obviously, my issues never went away. I did finally find someone who at least I could have a relationship with. My relationship with her, though, was very complex. I don't want to get too much into it, but she treated me like I was a guy, though the relationship dynamic definitely wasn't very guy-like for me. Uh, she even, in a time where she was a little bit upset with me, uh, said that I would make a better lesbian than a guy. Um, she was right. uh, Around the same time as that, uh, I created an identity online. Uh, and that identity online was completely female. Uh, I I did not want to be associated with being a guy. Uh, Real life reminded me of that always. Uh, that I was a guy who did not fit in as a guy. Or at least they assumed I was a guy. And that's just the way of things. Uh, so that was the beginning of being Nakami. Uh, that was roughly 17 years ago now. I think it's been a very long time. But online is where I got to be myself, um, which is not something I could be physically. Even when I was with my ex fiance, uh, it was always with the assumption that I was a guy, and I hadn't heard about transitioning at that point. Not that it would have gone through repressing my memories, sometimes in real time. Yeah, uh, repressing memories is weird. But I would end up breaking up with my ex because what she wanted from a guy in a relationship was not what I was giving her. Uh, I mean, I could clearly tell that. Why didn't make any sense to me, but I could definitely tell. Uh, Somewhere in that period, I'd gone back to college. Uh, I did, in fact, get a degree. Though that is a complex story in and of itself. I even had a job in my field for a time. I even worked for the school, actually, for a while in my fields. But every day was still very hard. I still had chronic depression. I had never seen anyone to ever get help about it. Uh, Having a feeling of apathy and that there was literally no point to life was like a constant thing for me. Uh, it's actually part of why I've lost a few jobs. It's really hard to care about your job when you feel like nothing matters. So, uh, I'm skipping a lot of time here, but when we finally get into like the middle of the 2010s, uh, or you want to call them the 20 teens, that's probably a good term for them. Uh, Trans people had like been out enough that my only examples weren't just like the crying game and like cross dressers. I I definitely finally heard the term transgender and transitioning, and for about the last 10 years, I've I've thought, what if that was for me? But I didn't feel like it could be. Uh, for so long, I felt that I had no option when it came to that. And things were very slow to fit through the repression. Uh, I will say, as an adult, almost all of the friends I ever made were women. I could count the number of male friends I have on one hand. I'm not even sure it would take one full hand. So, uh, online being better than in real life, if you want to call it that. Because online I could just be me. I didn't have to be something else. That was definitely not me. Um, but moving forward, we get to the point where I had a really bad job, which sucked everything out of my life. I didn't talk to my friends anymore because I was always busy with work. And I had a car accident in there, which, at least for a while, got me fired. Because I was working when I had the car accident. And that's a fireable offense where I was. So, things were a bit challenging, but when I got fired permanently from that job, and I knew I wasn't coming back, we had entered into Ligma. Yes, Ligma. I'll have to remember to censor that word. But during that period, I took the money I had and I decided to do something for myself for a change. And I decided to become a VTuber. I had never been. Well, I'd experimented with doing content creation, but not practically. For at this point, over 30 years, I actually haven't been able to look at myself in a mirror. Um, I I can't do it. I haven't been able to stand the sound of my own voice. So, uh, I didn't look at regular content creation very seriously. I mean, maybe if I wasn't on screen and I could do something about my voice. But I wanted to be more expressive than that. So, that was my incentive to be a VTuber. And seeing as how VTubing is definitely online, I never even contemplated having like a male VTuber model. Um, yeah, I've just always been a woman online. So at this point, if I'm online, I'm just a woman. That's how it is. And as a VTuber, I'm actually far more me than you would assume if you met me in person. Well, I'm trying to fix that, but yeah, last year after a bunch of times where I had seen like uh trans women that are content creators online, and I was having thoughts like, oh, well, she's awfully pretty. I wonder if I could be that pretty. Which, at the time didn't make much sense to me since I was still repressing everything. Um, Also, a lot in the. I can't even count how many times hearing about bans on, like, HRT and um, puberty blockers for kids that I literally broke down in tears, and I wouldn't know why. Uh, I definitely do these days, and it's because I've been there. I know what that's like. Uh, I wouldn't wish that on my worst enemy. Sorry, I'm getting a little teary again. But yeah, the mental repression lasted until last year. And last year, my subconscious being able to literally just wash away uh, any thoughts I had about how I should be a woman. Uh, and that's a horrible actually way of saying that, because I've always just been a woman. But society definitely has not always seen me that way. And that's really the issue. Uh, that was the disconnect always. Society never saw me as a woman, except online. But internally, I've always been a woman. But last year, I made well, the repression ended. That ability my brain had to edit out the inconvenient history uh, went away in like an instant. Um, that's not a comfortable thing. Remembering all the darkest places that I've ever felt myself in, was not a good place for me to be in. So I knew I needed to do something about it, and I needed to do something about it immediately. I did not have the time to simply wait and see, because uh, at least for me, my gender dysphoria, when I'm not repressing it, is very severe. And I wasn't actually sure if I would be able to deal with it if I put things off. So, I got into therapy. They definitely agreed with me. Um, I also got on HRT, and I've been on that for a while now. But I felt I definitely needed to talk about this, because I do have a platform, and right now, the entire trans community, and we are a very tiny community. It's so many of us have issues like mine where we either, for one reason or another, can't come out, like me repressing my memories. I mean, it saved my life, but it also caused a lot of issues as far as being able to deal with my actual issues. And the current climate, politically and socially, when it comes to trans people, is in a very, very bad place. We are an easy target for people that hate the other, and that's how they look at us. We don't conform to their stereotypes. So, it's very easy to hate us. And I'm positive when I actually put this on YouTube, there will be plenty of hate comments. And I'm definitely going to say, going forward, if there's hate comments, I'm just going to delete them. And ban the people that make them if I have to. Because I don't think we deserve those. I've definitely suffered long enough. I don't need even more suffering. But I wanted to tell a real story about actually being someone who, is trans. And yes, I've taken a very long time to get around to those parts. I'm glad if you're still here. But this is a story I definitely think needs to have been done in order. And because I know someone's gonna mention this. because I'm pretty open with the fact that I do use a voice changer to shift my voice a little bit. Uh, this is actually pretty much my real voice. I move one slider by 1%, and this is my voice. And that's actually enough that I can stand my voice. After all, I just did tell you a couple of minutes ago, I haven't been able to stand my voice in a long time. I can stand it this way. I cannot in person. Maybe with some voice training, I can fix that. We'll see. I should mention some practical things. Continuing my transition is a bit problematic looking with the legal landscape that is before us. I hope that does not become an issue because, frankly, it worries me. It worries me a lot. I know I haven't worded it this way yet, but the body I was born into has always felt more like a prison than me. It was a very fleshy prison that I was shoved into. It never reflected how I actually am. And if I were to lose access to HRT, it would feel like being stuck in prison again. And I've been in that prison for over 30 years. I have no desires to go back. I'm feeling more like myself than I ever have before. Unfortunately, transitioning is actually super expensive. I don't really own any clothes that I would want to wear outside of, shorts and t-shirts. Because I literally just can't afford to go buying a bunch of clothes. I definitely couldn't afford to DIY HRT if I ever needed to. If I ever did choose to get surgery at some point, I have zero ways of affording any of the different numbers of potential surgeries. And I'm pretty darn sure my insurance is not going to cover those. So, not really realistic options for me. I wish those were options I could even, look at. I'll add, when we're talking about this, that being honest with myself and admitting that I'm a trans woman, it didn't solve my chronic depression, but it lets me deal with my chronic depression in good ways and ones that don't require medication. Because I had chronic depression because I thought there was literally no hope. And having hope is sort of the cure for that. Um, there are definitely days where things that happen make me feel very hopeless. And having to work that out is sort of a everyday thing. But for the first time in ages, I don't generally feel that apathy to life. I want to go out and do things. I want to stream and I just want to hang out with friends and make friends for that matter. I can always use some more friends. But this does actually mean there will be some changes in my content. Especially after I put this out, there's no going back. Everyone will know what some at least are going to consider my dirty laundry. And yeah, it's out there. I can't stuff it back in a box. Not that I'd want to even, but because of that, I want to do more occasional, like, trans topics. If I have a wider trans audience, I will definitely do more content related to being trans. There's a whole host of things I could talk about. I want to get other trans content creators on. I do have within, like, my VTuber friend group some people who are trans, and sadly I can't get in touch with a few of them, and I haven't been able to for a while. But I want to get them on, have their stories on here. I think telling our stories is important, especially when we're often demonized. And because this is the first place the opposition to trans people went, I'm gonna put this out there. Most trans women are just women. If we go into a women's restroom, it's because we need to use the bathroom. It is not because we want to harass or cause problems for other women. Why the hell would we actually want to cause problems for other women? The fact that some women can look at us and just see men is both painful and a bit disgusting. I mean, I don't put some women in weird boxes. Trans women are just women. I don't have anything against other women. I've always been here for other women. And I just wish more women would see the same thing. But I think for now, that's all I'm gonna say. So I think I've covered everything in my story that I want to. So I hope you enjoyed. If you have, and you're not currently subscribed to me, please do. It helps me a lot. It will encourage me too if you like this video when it goes up to make more content like this. Uh, but yeah, uh, I think that's it. So with that, have fun, take care, and I'll see you later. Bye.